This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
Freaking.com.
I think Bretton Woods is not too far from here, where they made the plans for international management of currency and had this Bretton Woods agreement. But it broke down on August 15, 1971, and by that time I had a fairly good understanding of Austrian economics, and I thought, boy, this means that the door is going to be open. It's going to be open for spending and deficits and intervention overseas and welfareism and special interest government. And for that reason, I ran for the very first time in 1974. But my concerns back in the 70s have actually been justified, because it has been perpetual, it has been steady. And if you look at all the economic curves, if you're studying economics, you can find economic statistics, you see many things, whether it's a CPI or spending or deficit, goes along like this, and then it shoots up like this. And it represents the fact that we have allowed our politicians and our governments to be run totally out of control without any restraint. But the one thing that was obvious to many of us who studied Austrian economics, it was unsustainable. But there's also something in Austrian economics that teaches that although we may know trends, we do not know timing. So in many ways, I'm quite surprised that it has lasted this long, and consider it fortunate. Because if it would have happened 10 years ago, we wouldn't have had you, this new generation that cares a lot more about it than those in the previous generation, that care actually about doing things like ending the Fed and a few other things. But it looks like it is coming to an end. It isn't going to be papered over again. Many recessions that have occurred since 1971 have been taken care of short-term by spending more, printing more, and then borrowing more. So we finally get to the very big bubble. And I consider the big bubble bursting in the year 2000, not 2008, but 2000, when the NASDAQ bubble burst. This was an introduction to a bad decade, which has continued. Standard of living has gone down for more than just a couple years. It's been going down for more than 10 years. But this time, they've tried all the old tricks, and all the old tricks involve, well, we're in trouble now, and they believe in Keynesian economics, which says, well, the problem is that the people aren't spending enough money. So if we just print money and give it to the people, they're going to spend money, everything's going to be okay. So what has the Congress done? That came along with TARP funds. They printed a lot of money and passed it out, and the Fed did the same thing. Not $100 billion or $200 billion, hundreds of billions of dollars, and now many trillions of dollars. And the real tragedy is that there's more money printed and passed out by the Federal Reserve in secret than even what the Congress is doing. That's how much out of control this is. This is why if we don't end the Fed tomorrow, at least we have to have transparency. We better get a clean audit of what the Fed has been up to for the last 20 years. This time it's not working. We got into trouble because we spent too much, borrowed too much, and printed too much. At the same time, we regulated too much. So what have they done these last 2-3 years? They are spending like they've never spent before. Deficits have totally exploded. We regulate more than ever. Every time we have a problem, we put on more regulations, and then they wonder why we're not recovering. And it is a difficult problem. We have not seen the end of this. And here, young people like you, getting ready to college, get out of college and go get a job. And good jobs are hard to come by now. So it's vital, not because of theoretical reasons, not because you think it would be a nice thing to do, but because of our own self-interest of protecting our liberties and protecting our ability to take care of ourselves. And the government has been put in our way. They have hindered us. They have undermined the system where the productivity can occur and where the people can have jobs. So we are now facing this situation, and yet the alternative to what we're getting now is so difficult politically. So they'll ask me frequently on television and say, all right, then what should you have done? Well, we should have done a lot less, a lot sooner is what we should have done. We should have quit the spending and quit the borrowing, and really the politically unpopular thing to do is allow the correction. If things are out of kilter, if the Federal Reserve introduces this notion that it can do essential economic planning by artificially lowering interest rates and pretending there are savings and people over-invest, instead of getting production, you get higher prices. As long as they believe that, we can't solve our problem. As long as we prop it up, the problem won't go away. You need the corrections. There are mistakes made. You need to correct what has gone on. But we've done everything in the opposite way. The debt has to be liquidated. When there's a lot of bad debt, and these companies and these banks that overextended themselves and made billions and billions during the bubble formation, why was it that the people like you had to be further burdened by bailing them all out? Because you're burdened either by taxation or by the printing of money and the devaluation of your currency. The burden has been placed on the people, and all the bad debt, all the derivatives that they were holding in these mortgages, they were bought by the Treasury and by the Federal Reserve and transferred over to the taxpayer. So they got off the hook and they got bailed out, and they're back making money again. Banks are making hand over fist. There's another, government motor company now. I mean, General Motors. They're doing quite well again. But they shouldn't have been allowed. We have to get rid of the mistakes. And the good stuff that is left over, it has to be picked up. So politically, it's virtually impossible to say, oh, we'll just let it go. Somebody said to me, he says, oh, then, you had to do it because there would have been a depression if you had not done this. I said, yeah, but the true unemployment rate is more like 22%. Believe me, that's a depression for that 22%. And that is very difficult. Sure, if we wouldn't have bailed out, there would have been a depression. But guess for whom? It would have been the people on Wall Street and the people who deserve bankruptcy, and yes, they deserve bankruptcy. There are several reasons why I've argued the case from the very first time I ran for office, and the main reason why I ran for office was just to get a few things off my chest. I thought I would do my duty and express myself, and they would send me packing, and I would at least tell my kids, well, at least I spoke out, But I didn't get away with it quite that easily. But it has always been the Federal Reserve that really prompted me getting involved, because I saw the Federal Reserve as the instigator in the destruction of liberty. The principle that we should all fight for is liberty. And then when you see the connection, you see what the Fed does. Well, the Fed, there's a couple of reasons we should oppose the Fed. One, how about this for a reason for opposing the Fed? What about it's unconstitutional to have a central bank? There's no authorization in the central bank. The argument's going on for a long time. Jefferson and Hamilton argued about it, but it was ups and downs. They tried it, and it would be undermined, and then it would be ended, and they'd try another one. But since 1913, we as a people have been too complacent, and we've gotten ourselves into this mess. So the other thing is maybe it's immoral to have a secret bank, a secret group of people who literally debase the money and they're not accountable. So it's a moral issue for me that they shouldn't have this privilege to do this.
Keene, New Hampshire, the capital of libertarian civil disobedience. The folks over at freekeene.com believe this is the place you should be if you believe in peaceful non-cooperation. freekeene.com invites you to the beautiful hills of western New Hampshire and invites you to join their peaceful evolution. freekeene.com